Hey YouTube, welcome back to another video. Today is a real quick trial by fire, and I don't have a lighter, even though I should, of my two new premium basses. I've had them for a little bit now, but they're the two best horns that I think I've probably ever had. And I just happen to have them both at the same time. And I've been wanting to try them out in the real world. I've had some ways to do that, but I finally got the chance to take them both on different days to Disneyland. Work, where I am a sub on bass trombone and third trombone. I finally got to play bass trombone for the first time in a little bit, and I tried each one of them on successive days. That's not what these horns are built for. You know, they work, they are bass trombones, but they're not exactly like commercial instruments. They are a little bit heavy, they're a little bit cumbersome in their different ways that they play. But it's a good way for me to test in a situation where I know how a lot of other horns act. I play the same horn a lot of the time there, my Yamaha 613, but I have played many other horns there in the past, including my monster bass. So, how did they fare? First up, the Curran. This is an orchestral, big Shires bass. You know, it's not exactly made to play the stuff that we play at Disney, and it didn't matter. This is the easiest horn I've ever played there by like a huge margin. Yes, it's a little bit heavy. It is a dual bore. It doesn't make quite the same sound that I would really want there, but it was still so easy. The entire day I was just like, okay, when is this going to get difficult? When is it going to get, you know, kind of like too heavy for the ensemble or whatever? It just never did. It was the easiest day I've ever had on bass trombone at the park, and I was a little bit blown away. It was a little strange. I play most of the day with earplugs in because the percussion is very loud, and I realized that I had to play a little more focused at the chops than I'm used to feeling in my face. And I think this is actually mostly a difference in my playing and not necessarily the instrument, but it did feel like it was a little bit smaller here than the sound I was getting. Because I would play kind of by feel. That's what I do with the earplugs in most of the time. And the feeling was a little weird. I was like, do I sound good on the other side? But then there's a couple times where I do get to take the earplugs out, and I was like, wow, that sounds really good. And is very loud and is not like giant orchestral sound all the time. I can actually change the dial on it in different directions. Not a ton, but I can. I played the loudest I've ever played with like a really good sound on this horn. And I was just like, that was cake. Like, just so insanely easy. The entire day was just a blast. It is not a horn that I'm ever going to play there again. It's big, it's heavy. I had to use my leather specialties strap on it because this is not going to be great for playing for an entire day. And of course, I don't want to play like axials outside all day because they're going to start to gum up. And of course, the bell is very soft on these, so if I ding it on stuff, it's going to bend, it's going to get dense. It's not a horn I'm ever going to play there again, but it gave me a very good first impression, not really first impression, but like fourth impression of how this horn plays, which is just extremely, extremely well. I was very happy with it. The next day, I took in the B&S Meistersinger Sarastro, the German horn. This is even farther away from the ideal for a bass trombone at Disneyland. I don't care, I'm still going to play it. I am not letting the group down by playing a slightly different instrument. The 5-day bass trombonist there plays a dual bore Edwards all the time, and he sounds great. So it's not that hard to just kind of like blend into the new setting with a new instrument. And this one did not fare as well. It's just harder to play. It's a little picky with inputs. The Curran is one of the least picky, as long as you're using air. It's one of the least picky horns I've ever played. It's just kind of like, oh, here's the sound. Boom. It's still going to sound good. Boom. Whereas this, if you just kind of start playing off-center just a little bit, the horn just kind of stops working. It did not want to play super loud. It did not want to kind of change colors the way that I wanted to. It kind of was like, nope, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, well, okay. It was an adventure. It wasn't the hardest horn I've ever played. It's still so much better than the Yamaha 830 Xeno that the park has for us, which I don't play anymore. I actually played that for the first set because I didn't want to play this all day, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't play that horn anymore. And so I got this out, and it was more fun and a better instrument, but it was still difficult and just kind of fought everything that I wanted to do. And I think mainly it's not so much that the instrument is like super hard to play or whatever. It's just so far from the ideal setting for this instrument that it kind of balked. It was like, no, that's not what I do. It'd be like taking a German tenor trombone to that setting, which would be just like completely wrong. It's a little closer to that. There were some times where I was like, yes, this is the sound that I want. And other times where I would try and play the more kind of legit classical music that we play, and I'd try and play like really loud, and the horn would just not do it. So I'm very interested to try this out in indoor settings, legit settings, where I can play with like larger groups that are not just trombones and see how it does, because when I've played it with trombones only, it has been amazing. It makes such a great sound when I kind of dial everything in right, and it's so satisfying to play. But at Disney, it kind of fell apart. I was a little surprised. I thought it would be fine, and it was subpar. It was definitely not what I would choose to play in the future. And of course, I won't be doing that because why would I? I don't need to. I have other better instruments for that. So that's the that's the latest update on these two horns. I'm keeping both of them. I love both of them to death. They both play and sound great in their own respective, very different ways. And still thinking about the monster bass. I got a new tuning slide for it. That'll be an upcoming video that makes it way more even and much more in a way that I would like to play. So it might be a contender for another horn that I keep. We'll see. And of course, I do have another bass on the way that is a Japan-only Yamaha model that we've never saw in the United States, and as far as I can tell, is one of very few that exist in the world. So that's going to be exciting in a very boring Yamaha way. And that's all I got for now. There's definitely going to be more videos in the upcoming weeks because I'm not as busy. And that's all I got time for now. Bye-bye.